Hopefully this one works now. We'll see. Fingers crossed. See if this one works. It says we are live. Are we good live? Go to your encoder to go live. It says I'm streaming though. Sweet. Should be good now actually. Now we'll go here. Move the camera just slightly on the left. Let's hope this works now and that we actually have like a working stream. We'll see. Fingers crossed, man. So far, nothing. Says we're good. Oh, because it says private, that's why. There we go. Now we should be good in terms of stream content with charts open and everything as well. No SMT forming here. Equal highs form, slight SM, no SMT. Do some internal SMT. We do have some internal SMT that form between YM as well as ES. Okay, this should be live now. Officially. We'll hope. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. See if we end up getting this stream up and running here. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you all see me? Are we golden? We staying golden, pony boy. What's up, bro? Long time no see. What's up, Bobby? Good morning to ya. How goes it? YouTube, do you trade oils? Sometimes I do trade oils. I'm not the biggest fan of oils. I can't lie. I'm not the biggest fan of oils. Let me just quickly get a announcement online here. The Real Kappa, what's up? Hello. Maza, good evening, good afternoon, good evening, good everything, folks. Live on YouTube, 4 p.m. session. Let me just get this and a little Instagram flickshare up so y'all can see the stream accordingly. Good morning, everybody, though. How are we doing? How's everybody going? Mic is a bit low. Okay, well, I'll turn that up then. We'll do this, and then we will also get the mic up on OBS. Should be good now. The input seems to be pretty solid, so should be good. Stream quality should be up as well. Crystal clear. Awesome. Abby, Anthony, good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Let me just get the announcement up here on the Twitter, and then we are game for a good time. Did you take the short today? I did indeed. I took a beautiful short. I'll actually recap it once we get a couple people on stream here. So let me just get a little announcement. Boom. Très bien, merci. Pas de problème. Okay, let's get a little... Oh, shoot. We're doing a little influencing here. 1 second, chat. Live on YouTube. Live on YouTube. And then we can go here, and then we're going to get linked to the live. Thank you, better yes. Yeah, of course. Awesome. Happy to hear that it's doing better now. It took me way too long to figure out how to get this stream up and running, to be so frank with all of you. It took way too long. Cheese. Good morning, everybody. Actually, switch this link up, and then we will actually get started on some New York PM session shenanigans. And then we got to get some music. Live on YouTube, and we're posted on the Instagram. We're good. I thought you were in France. I was. I'm back in the U.S. now. We are very much so back in the U.S. We're hanging in my room. We are back and with it. Back and with it. The boss is back. What's up, Arturo? Good seeing you, boss. Got all the casuals, all the usuals coming back here. Love to freaking see it, man. Love to freaking see it. How's it going there, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're based from. We've got a nice little recap here on some shorts I took during AM session today. So it's going to be a good time. We are going to get this body started in terms of what we can anticipate for today. So what can we anticipate for today / also what exactly happened today, I think is going to be a good thing for us to do. So without further ado, let's get into a beautiful little trade recap for all of you. Do you trade live on YT more often? I'm going to be trading live on my YT more often. I have not recently, but I definitely will start a little more because I've had quite a few requests from all of you in regards to me live trading. So I'll probably do a couple more. Can you break down today's trade? I was just about to waiting for a few more heads to roll in here, and then we'll get the live trading underway. So should be a good time. C'est la vie. C'est la vie. You know it. You know it. Alrighty. So without further ado, let's get into a nice little trade recap here if we're all feeling it. So today was honestly a pretty decent day for me. Also a very decent, where can we trade with you live? Which Discord you in? Mr. Zinc Discord or Lab? Mr. Zinc Discord probably be your best bet. Since he's doing daily live trading. I don't trade live every day. But without further ado, guys, let's get into it because we have a fun day for market today. One of my favorite type of continuation entries form today, which I think is going to be a really nice recap for all of you as well. So if you guys are game for it, let's get the party started and honestly get into some trade recaps because we had a really, really solid day in terms of price action. So I think it'll be good for us to review, kind of break down how exactly I was anticipating price to move lower, starting with some higher time frame context and making our way to some smaller time frame context. So should be a relatively fun day in terms of how we're going to analyze these trades for today. And yeah, so let's get into it. So first and foremost here, we've got now, let's actually remove all the drawings. We're going to make this fun. We're going to go from the very top notch analysis here. We're going to start with the daily analysis. What exactly did I notice for today that gave me some intended bearish bias moving into markets today? Well, first and foremost, one of the things that I actually saw was the fact that we already had a very aggressive Tuesday and Wednesday session. When we look at price, especially around the highs, what exactly formed? Well, we ended up having a very indecisive bullish candle that then led to a very expansive Thursday, January 29th bearish candle. Following this, as we make our way into the new week, Monday ended up setting the range, where Tuesday ended up doing what on indices? Tuesday ended up sweeping out the previous Monday high. We see Monday formed a range, and Tuesday did what? Tuesday manipulated the range high, meaning a manipulation sequence. When you see a manipulation, what can you anticipate price doing? You can anticipate that price is going to distribute into the opposing side. So when we look at this trade in specific, what exactly do we notice? Well, we set the high and the low of the Monday range. We see that Tuesday then ends up sweeping out the Monday high. With this sweep in play, where can we anticipate Tuesday price going? Well, we can confirm potentially seeing a reversal signature or a continuation sequence, because here, as we see, Thursday, Friday had both created a very bearish move. Monday formed a new range on the new week. Tuesday ended up sweeping out the high, but it created a bullish manipulation, which leads to what? It leads to a bearish distribution. Bullish manipulations lead to bearish distributions, which is one of the things that I was honestly anticipating market to do today. So here what we see is we sweep out the high. Following this, Tuesday created a very expansive session lower. So I did end up trading Tuesday's distribution lower because of this daily sweep. Then Wednesday ended up retracing a little into the EQ of Tuesday's candle before tracing even lower. And if we look at this candle framework, we have candle 1, which is Monday. Candle 1, which is Monday, sets the range. After we set the range, Tuesday does what? It creates the manipulation. Once we manipulate this Monday high with Tuesday session and we see a bearish distribution, we can now anticipate a candle 3 continuation. Here we see with this candle 3 continuation, well, where did my bias lie? We had an untouched low here that formed on Wednesday, the 21st of Jan, which became a primary draw for myself. So basically this entire week long, your boy's been bearish. Your boy's been extremely bearish when it comes to trading because of this unswept liquidity down at this Wednesday, January 21st low. And so Wednesday and Tuesday were two major short opportunities I ended up taking by utilizing some SMT divergence, which was really nice. And so then what exactly did we see occur during Thursday's market? Well, if we want to see a continued trace, we have to identify where potential future draws lie. Well, we still had some draws, even though we had swept out these draws. I was honestly anticipating price to retrace a little bit here. Please look at GC. I'll look at GC in just a second. Don't you worry. We'll go through this recap first. GC, there we go. We'll look at GC in just a sec. So what exactly do we notice here, guys? We sweep out the low of Wednesday, January 21st, which leads to what? Leads to a slight retrace into the EQ, the previous Wednesday candle, before we then see a Thursday distribution lower, framing a candle 1 through candle 4 framework. This week, honestly, is what I consider an A+ week. We had extremely good price action, very solid candlesticks, very solid movement, all giving us the intended directions that we wanted within this market scenario. So I'm a fan of what I'm seeing right now, especially with these markets. So we'll now move into the smaller time frame and break down that analysis. I'm really back testing for long. Can you please buy me an evaluation account? Any prop firm? I cannot. Medicated. That's all you, boss. I'll maybe do a giveaway in the future, but I don't openly buy accounts for people like that. I do apologize. So what exactly do we see, right? So let's now break down the 6 hours since we look at the quarterly candles as well. What do we see happen at the 6 hour in terms of Thursday's market, right? We'll use the crosshair tool as well. Do you live trade? I do live trade. Live trade almost every single day, actually. KT. What do we see happen here, right? In between the 6 hour candle, what exactly happens? Well, nothing too much here as we make our way into this Wednesday market. But if we look at a correlating asset like YM, especially with this Thursday market, what exactly do we notice? We form an SMT divergence at the highs. We see that NASDAQ ended up creating a high and forming a lower high. And when we look at YM formed a high and then swept out the high. So we see that we formed a bearish SMT at these highs because we see that NASDAQ formed a lower high after creating the initial high. YM on this hand formed a high, ended up re-sweeping out the high. And so we saw the manipulation occur on YM while NASDAQ did not. This SMT divergence is what we can use in order to frame potential short signatures on these trades. Because now what we can anticipate is we can anticipate that price is going to move into our intended direction. Because trend is already clearly very bearish at the moment, we can now anticipate that price is going to move lower in order to grab these continuations. And with this SMT divergence, we now want to confirm this and to see if we can align it with a time frame that works accordingly with this SMT divergence. And so if we move to the hourly analysis now, what exactly happens once again? Well, we see this SMT clear as day on this time frame. If we're even just to break this down, like if I were to use this high here and this low here, and then we use the same low and high, so here and here, here and here, we see that the SMT is still present within this hourly time frame, both within YM and NASDAQ in this example. NASDAQ being the leading asset in this example since it was the unmanipulated asset, not the artificially manipulated asset. So using this framework now on the hourly, one of the favorite timeframes that I like to utilize is the 15-minute. 15-minute for me has been really good at being able to scout potential continuations in specific trends, especially when I'm looking at correlating assets. And so for myself, what I'm looking at here is I'm trying to find divergences in markets. And one of my favorite forms of continuations, which is what a lot of really good traders use, like GXT and APHIS, is they're looking for continuation signatures by utilizing SMT inside of gap fills. We want to watch for SMT within gap fills in a live market sequence. I trade before 10 a.m. and after 10 a.m. Can you make a tutorial on how you would use T-Trade Fact Model in 1 minute? Yeah, I'll definitely make a tutorial at some point on that. It's in the description of the video, Abby. So now what exactly did we see form on NASDAQ here that gave me interest into these potential short signatures? Well, because trend was already clearly trending bearish, NASDAQ was leading the move here by creating lower highs, showcasing a continued bearish move. ES on the other hand as well, what exactly do we see form? Well, we see once again an SMT divergence form. But when we look at this SMT, it's already mapped out with ES. What did we also form? We formed a major 15-minute fair value gap at these lows. So when we look at this trend and we see this continuation sequence, what exactly happens? Well, typically when we're trying to frame continuation entries, you want to see continuation entries form within imbalances or fair value gaps. And one of the strongest forms of continuation signatures you can utilize is utilize what exactly? Utilize SMT divergence inside of unfilled gaps. Okay? So we see with NASDAQ here, NASDAQ creates a low. We then see market consolidates during the 8 o'clock and 7 o'clock, 9:30 opens. We trace into this fair value gap. ES, on the other hand, forms this high, accumulates with slight bearish intent. 9:30 opens, it does not sweep out the same imbalance that was formed on NASDAQ. This forms a major SMT divergence that now we can utilize on what time frame exactly to break down this trade. Well, as I mentioned, 9:30 is already open. It's a very volatile market. We now want to anticipate price potentially moving lower. And so with this SMT, if we find this SMT on the 15-minute time frame, what becomes our aligning time frame that we can use for this trade? Well, that's when we use the 1 minute to confirm this SMT divergence and take a change in state of delivery trade. And one big thing to note as well is, well, we had this SMT divergence, but we also, and I'll actually quickly just do the recap tool here, we also had a relevant low, being the 9:30 open, as our primary draw on liquidity we could watch for. So if we confirm this SMT divergence, we can now anticipate that price is going to move into this intended draw, being the 9:30 open low, aka 24,652. So now let's break down the 1 minute time frame to see if we confirm this SMT and actually get a continuation signature lower. And here, we'll move into the 1 minute. We'll redraw the SMT so it fits nice and pretty here. Here we see the SMT, as I mentioned with you guys. We see that NASDAQ sweeps into this 15-minute fair value gap, which we'll mark out as our 15-minute FVG. ES just creates lower high and lower high. So we see that ES is the leading asset. And so now if we want to confirm the SMT divergence, we want to see what occur. Well, the SMT is present in this specific scenario. So if we want to confirm it, we have to confirm it with a market structure shift. So a market structure shift entails a change in state of delivery. And here what we see is what is the move that leads to the SMT divergence between these two correlating assets? Well, it's the change in state of delivery, or the move that leads to the sweep or the creation of the SMT. So this 949 and this 950 candle are what form the SMT divergence. And so if we want to see a confirmed SMT, we want to see a closure below this bearish change in state of delivery in order to validate this as a valid entry signature where we have now confirmed the SMT divergence. So my entry now, as we know where my draw lies. My draw lies at this 930 low. We see that the 930 open ended up leading to a lot of volatility where the 932 created this low. This becomes a very big primary draw for myself. Now, with this SMT, I want to wait for a closure below for me to then confirm an entry signature on this trade. So now let's look at whether or not we confirm this entry into this potential short. Here we see, once we form an indecision candle, we nearly tap into this change in state of delivery. No confirmation quite yet, so we want to wait until we get a closure below. See, still no confirmation. We want to wait for a closure below this change in state of delivery. And then finally, we see what exactly happens. Well, we get a confirmed closure below this change in state of delivery, which now validates what? It validates that this is a true SMT divergence and that this SMT is no longer a hypothesis, but instead we now know this is a true divergence between two correlating assets. So if I want to now take this trade, which is the exact trade I took this morning, I took a market order short entry on this position, put my stop at the candle body high, being the high of the move of the SMT. So we see this 2 bullish candle up closure. If I just extend this out, you'll see that this actually, our stop lies on the high of this candle body. So this now becomes your confirmed entry signature, okay? With this market order entry. We have now also identified our stop zone for the specific trade. And what else have we identified? Well, we've identified a clear draw on liquidity being this 932 low. So now if I want to see this trend continue, my maximum TP lies where? It lies at this low, the 930 low. For myself though, we did have a couple major imbalances that had formed on the way up. So we did have a fair value gap here, conflicting fair value. We also did have a draw on liquidity here. And so for myself, I now want to see where exactly I can start to take potential break even or partial positions. And here we see market had a pivot and also formed a continuation entry in longs based on this fair value that formed on this 1 minute time frame. So this becomes an area where I can anticipate price is going to bounce off of. So this became a region where I was going to take both partials and also take a break even in this position. Because now we know, okay, well, if trend closes below here, there's a high chance we make our way into this 930 draw. But in the case we bounce off, we've now secured partials and have taken this trade to break even. Plus, if we inverse this fair value gap, this becomes an even higher confidence position that will potentially see shorts form. So let's now see what happens with this trade by taking a paper trade, obviously, in this example. See if I can take a trade here, or we take a sell order, and we'll just take 1 unit here so you guys can better see this. 1 unit for this position, and as I mentioned, we have identified our stop loss being at the candle body high, and then we have our TP here at this low. And just for the sake of this, we'll confirm this trade entry, and actually we'll take a secondary contract. Since I was in this with multiple contracts, we'll take 2 contracts, and we'll move the stops here and potentially take 1 partial at this break even. This is exactly the trade I ended up taking this morning. And so in the case that we validated this fair value gap and didn't disrespect it and close below, this would just be a valid loss in my mind. But everything right now from the higher time frame picture, the daily, the 6 hour, the hourly, and the 15 minute gave me SMT divergence and a bias to go short because we had these primary draws form. So now let's actually break down and see how this trade ends up playing out. Here we see upon that first closure below the 60, we pull into this fair value gap. So far, no rejection off of it. Immediately, within 2 minutes, we completely disrespect this fair value and inverse this fair value gap. So now this becomes an area where I'm like, holy shit, man, we just completely disrespected this bullish price action because we didn't even respect this bullish fair value. We inversed it. So now I can truly anticipate that price is really going to significantly move lower. So let's see what happens now. Once we see the closure form, we trace into the fair value gap, close relatively indecisive, but I'm looking to take partials at this break-even zone. We see market continues in our trend until what happens? We take a partial out, so we'll take a partial close of 1 contract, and then now, because we have reached a significant internal draw, being this fair value gap here and this low where we saw market pivot, we can now use and move our stop to break even or even above the inversion fair value gap in profit. That way we are in a completely risk-free trade regardless of what happens to this trade setup. So we've now we have now secured our risk. We're in a risk-free trade. We have taken a partial and we have moved our stops above break even because we've identified, well, if price wants to inverse and go back into this inversion fair value and disrespect that, there's a high chance it will completely disrespect our trade entirely. So this kind of is a way for us to basically position ourselves in market to be risk-free. And so following this, what exactly happens? Well, we see a continued very aggressive bearish movement until finally our 930 low gets completely taken out. So that was honestly the trade setup I took today. So also for transparency, I did take this trade setup by utilizing micros, not minis for today. But this became genuinely one of the highest probability setups I had seen all week long. Everything from the daily to the 6 hour, 4 hour, hourly, 15 minute, up until the 1 minute entry gave me all the reason to get in on this series of trading, and especially on this specific setup by utilizing these aligning timeframes. So genuinely an A+ setup for me. Honestly, could not have been happier with how today's market played out. But for me, this is a trade setup. If this had invalidated our trade and we took a 70-point loss on micros, I'm okay taking that loss because my runner literally ended up going to 209 points on my funded accounts for today. Was it a big trade? Yes. Was I not as heavily sized as I would have liked to be? Yes, but I'm very happy with how the turn of events played out. So volatility was high, stops were big. So typically if my stop is above 50 points, I typically don't like to trade minis and instead will transition and put myself into trading micros. So honestly, it was a super fantastic trade from today, A+, and it was just utilizing concepts like SMT divergence and SMT within gap fills to identify continuations into primary draws and liquidity. So very, very solid day. Does that make sense to everybody? What are we thinking about that? Are we a fan of these type of trade recaps? Any questions before we move on here to some live trading? Any did you look at the 3-minute sissy that formed on the same high, or do you just trust the 1 minute? I just trusted the 1 minute here, Arturo, because I was getting aligning time frames between everything, between higher time frame context and smaller time frame context. So for me, this became a really high probability setup. So I honestly didn't pay attention to the 3 minute just because the 15 minute was giving me all the reason to believe. SMT within a gap fill for a continuation series, for me, that is just an A+ setup. Amazing twin, Leo Slays, what's up? Big Frank, howdy, good seeing you, by the way. Same here, took it on micros because volatility is high. Can you look into Forex? I personally don't trade Forex, so I will not be looking at Forex. I do apologize. Forex is not my gig. I can't lie. So literally using this type of context, guys, is one of the best things you can do in trading. Like literally, if we look at gold even and silver on the 15-minute time frame, you can utilize this for everything, like all these gap fills. And if you find an SMT within gap fills as well, it's just elite ball knowledge, chat. Need your live trade because I'm using T-Trades but lost because it does not live. Fair enough. Well, hop in. Link in the description. Hop in on it. Hop in on it. So yeah, this is kind of the framework I've been utilizing for continuation sequences recently. This has just been a very good trade at the moment as well. I am actually awaiting a max payout from Top Step on 5 of my accounts. So I'm waiting for my payout approval. My risk just got approved. Now waiting for my compliance to get approved. So all in all, very, very, very solid trading day for myself. Simply can't complain. Like if we talk about these type of trade setups, this was super high probability. And yeah, let's get into some live trading now since that was kind of the reason I was here. Yeah, we also had some really cool mapped out data here as well on these type of trades. Like if we do pay attention to general markets, like let's look at NASDAQ here as well. Absolutely love this form of trading by using initial balance break. Good analysis here as well. This is the initial balance break indicator from Edgeful. And so we see that we actually formed the first 15 minutes of this IB. And we see we swept out the initial balance and immediately got a retracement into the 25% and 50%. And I'll show data here. And I'll answer some questions in just a sec. I just want to really show you guys this because it's amazing how well this stuff works when you utilize initial balance breaks. But here we see NASDAQ formed this first 15-minute IB. We have the opening candle. Then we end up sweeping out the high of the initial balance. And if we look at data, which I'll show you guys here really quickly, data showed us that we were ready to continue to move lower off of the retracement. Like if I literally just utilize this data. So let me get this open here and I will show you guys. I will exit full screen and we will put Edgeful on the chart. And I want you guys to see just how data correlates as well, because it's important, right? If data is correlating with these trades, we know that we're in a higher probability. Like, so here I have Edgeful open, right? If I full screen this really quick, what exactly do we see? Well, if I use these specific reports and I do, instead of the gap fill, I use the initial balance breakout. And I want to use, let's say I'm trading NASDAQ like we just saw on my chart. We go to futures and NASDAQ here. Here we see the short bias from today was 80% since we had a single break of the initial balance. And if we look back to the chart, which I'll show you guys in just a second, that 80% is exactly what we saw. We ended up forming the initial balance break. And within also, if we just look at this, within the past 3 months, there's a 60.9% single break out of the initial balance that is formed. And also, if we do a sub report and we go 15 minutes, and we can do any of these, so you can do 15 minutes by wick, by candle close, by retracement, whatever it might want to be, you can look at these. So we can look at by retracement, And if we look at this in specific, 80% of the time, when we break out of the initial bounce breakout, the 30-minute initial bounce break on NASDAQ, 80% of the time we retrace to 25% of the initial bounce move, and 50% to the 50% retracement, we see that 42.8% of the time. So data was showing me that after we had swept out the initial bounce, we could also look to go short, which showcases very similar bias to what I was seeing with my S&P divergence. If I go back into these trading charts now and I just show you guys this, right? We get back onto the live charts, look exactly what happens. We form the IB high, we sweep it out. This first marker here is the 25% marker. The second one is the 50%. And we saw a retracement to the 25% and the 50% retracement all within a small sweep out. And so forming bias by utilizing Edgeful for these genuinely, on top of using my trading model, became super high probability for myself when I was looking to go short in markets. So pretty cool stuff, guys. I can't lie. Where can I trade with you? I can show you guys. I'll put a link in chat right now. But yeah, honestly, could not complain. It was seriously such an A+ day. All week long, we've had super high probability setups forming. And so honestly, cannot complain, guys. I mean, we're talking top-notch trading all week long. So 0 complaints on my end here, chat. We're quite happy about how it played out. Nice to see you on YouTube. When are you going to get on? Yes, we need to get that scheduled. I'll be free for the afternoon today as well as tomorrow and Saturday. So I'll be golden for that. Just because, yeah, your boy, by the way, for those of you that don't know, was finishing up a pretty intense series of exams and everything. So we're actually finishing it up. We finished up a hectic 2 weeks. So without further ado, that's a link for those of you that are interested in wanting to see me as well as my business partners, Zinc and Frenchie Trade Live. So yeah, honestly, super nice day for myself in terms of price action. And like literally using this same context here, we can start to frame a bunch of these different setups, right? We can find this S&P divergence between correlating assets and use this to our advantage. Examples like even in this example here, we form an S&P divergence on the 1 minute between NASDAQ and YM. Like we see YM creates this low, ends up sweeping it out. NASDAQ does not. What's the move that leads to that S&P? Well, it's this bearish move that leads to it. We sweep out the high here, form the SIST. What exactly happens? Oops. Should both be the same, I believe. And so now we can confirm an entry signature. So I actually did end up missing this. This would have been a nice long. Take this long, put my stop at the candle body low, target a 2R on this or a 1.5, and we'll see whether or not this plays out. Here we have relevant draws. We can see market continue higher too. So PM session's working well here. KT, it's the 150, but if you use, there's a code I believe that gives you promotion on it. Let me see really quick. I believe if you use code futures, you get 20% off. Code futures, you get 20% off. Leo, I asked you the other day on IG if it's better to take a small first payout on 50K, like 500, or create a buffer, grow the account, and take a bigger payout. So Arturo, genuinely, I would say it's best to build a buffer. Definitely best to build a buffer. Because if you take a small payout, your drawdown's really small, and that tends to stress a lot of traders out in terms of making irrational decisions to rebuild their buffer. So I'd highly recommend that you just end up making a buffer and taking a larger payout. Like learn to be consistent and take larger payouts, because those will pay out a lot more than just like a $200 payout, to be so frank. So currently, that is where market lies right now. For myself, I'm not super interested in anything I'm seeing at the moment within market. just because honestly, if we're looking at general markets right now, 2R just played out on this. I did miss out on this SMT. We did form a nice SMT divergence at these lows, even within. So YM here, we didn't form an SMT at these lows. Maybe with ES we did. No 15-minute SMT here. We actually formed. Actually, I guess we did form an SMT with ES and like, look, if we look at this 15-minute, YM formed lower, ES formed higher. So this actually did form a 15-minute SMT here. So if we move to the 1 minute, that might have even given us an earlier entry here for a long signature. Yeah, see, but that's not worth it. If we look at this SMT, look at how wide this stop range is. Stop range would have been all the way up here. It's like a 100-point stop. Not worth it. So here we used a smaller 1 minute SMT, and that actually confirmed really nice continuation sequence higher. So it's always 1 to 2 target higher. It is most of the time you always want to look for a 1 to 2 R. For continuations, most of the time I look for 1.5, but typically my trades go from 1.5 to 2R. What are you studying and do you plan to use your degree? I'm studying mechanical and aerospace engineering. Not planning on using it, to be so honest with you. I'm going to be taking trading full time, but I also do enjoy engineering. So it'll be nice to eventually get back into maybe starting an engineering company in the future with friends or whoever it might be, is kind of what I'm thinking. I think that would be the best plan of action for myself. You can do both, exactly. I can definitely do both because I will have free time. But the thing is, I'm working a lot on brand building and partnerships. So for me, I don't know how much free time that'll entail, Frank. Yeah. But yeah, typically 1 to 2 R is my typical range when I'm looking for continuation sequences or even just candle 2 sequences. But you will see me target 1.5 R if I feel like market is relatively expansive during like candle 1 through candle 3. Then I'll end up taking trades utilizing 1.5 R and take out partials, things like that, because that typically yields much better results for myself too. Okay, sounds good. Yes, sir. So yeah, kind of what I like when it comes to these type of trades in general. Yeah, honestly, not too much here forming in terms of any trade setups right now. I can't lie. I'm not the biggest fan of what I'm seeing. Nothing super crazy here. No SMT forming at these highs. If we look, yeah, no valid SMT. 15-minute, no gap is formed. If we look at the 15-minute time frame, right, what's market doing? Market's a bit rangy now. So if market's a bit rangy, typically that means a no trade opportunity for myself. I'm less inclined to want to take a trade. In fact, higher time frame trend actually still yielding bullish intent or bearish intent. Actually, we did sweep out this very relevant 2 o'clock low. Yeah, still not a fan of what I'm seeing though. I can't lie. Not the biggest fan. That is A-okay. In TTFM, does every day do you find setup in ES and IQ? Almost every day you will find setups. It just depends on if you can scout the right time frame. But also some days are lower probability days and some days are higher probability. That's the one thing you do have to be wary of. Is some days will result in lower versus higher probability setups. So, yeah. Yeah, to be so honest with you guys, not seeing too much that excites me right now. Since 11 o'clock, we've kind of just been a bit rangy, so no super solid trade setups here. Notice after we hit 2R on this trade setup, by the way, we immediately get a rejection, which is funny to see that. Also, I do like this too because this SMT formed. Oh, but it didn't fill within this gap fill. We see that we formed this gap fill, but it barely tapped into that. ES didn't even have a gap to fill. So, not the biggest fan. Not the biggest fan. Yeah, chat. Kind of what I'm watching for. I think I'm honestly hands off on market for today. Kind of just want to at least hop on, sort of re-shenanigans, New York Open. Are you still trading 3 minute, 30 minute? I am, Kappa. Absolutely. I love the 3 and 30 minute. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. V-shaped recovery here. We might even validate a C2 here. New 15-minute formed. Yep. Yeah, I still am trading. I trade 1 minute 15, 3:30, and 5 hourly still. Quite a lot, Kappa. Quite a lot. Do you teach the full model in the I do. Yes, there's a full-blown model in the Discord, Max. Fully blown analysis for all of it. Wow, now we're seeing some aggression in this market. Look at this. Holy cow. Market is going dumpy. Definitely a short signature forming here, guys. I can't lie. I think markets are a little weak here, believe it or not. Insane work, man. Crazy baza. Crazy baza. Gonna get a retrace here into the EQ before we continue even lower. Having the guts to do such a hard degree and finish it while already being a secretary of something else, respect I'm doing industrial engineering, it's killing me. I don't blame you. ENG is hard, man. It's not easy at all. That's why I'm kind of excited to take trading more with like the actual full-time approach rather than saying I'm full-time, but like I'm still doing engineering, you know? It'll be a good time for me. I'm excited. I can't lie. I'm quite excited for it. Hey, respect to you, though. Industrial engineering is not easy in and of itself. So, well done. Well done. That and learning how to trade as well. Oof. 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 Why didn't you enter the 1 minute 60? I just missed it. I was giving a different recap life hacks. I would have absolutely taken this trade, though. I just full transparency. I wasn't active in market. I was doing a different trade recap around 306. So I just missed it. To be honest with you, life hacks, but that was a great trade setup, honestly. High probability on that one. This is high probability. We're probably going to trace back into these lows here, these 252 lows. See if we can get a little drawing here. Let's see what happens. See what happens. What type of bread and butter are we going to get? I'm also industrial and production engineer. Sweet. How do you how do you determine which time frame to execute 5 minute, 3 minute, 1 minute? I'm only focusing on the 5 minutes as I build confidence with the model. Honestly, it's a matter of seeing what higher time frame is giving you the best picture. Like if the 30-minute time frame is giving you the cleanest picture, trade the 3 minute. If the hourly is giving you the best framework, trade the 5 minute. If the 15-minute framework is giving you the best framework, trade the 1 minute. That's the best thing that I've noticed because then it builds confidence. Literally look at it. If the storyline of the 30-minute is giving you such a clear picture, there's no reason why you should be trading the 5 minute. The 15 is giving you clear SMT, clear trace into a fair value, and a continuation sequence. Why are you trading the 3 minute? Trade the 1 minute, right? That's my honest methodology when it comes to that. That's 100% my methodology. Is there any live trading also in the Discord? The compound or live commentary by you daily? The compound has live trading daily. Do you enter the candle close of the 60 or when it touches? I wait for the closure. Always wait for the closure. Always, 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 always wait for the closure. No matter what. Yeah, you will always catch me waiting for the closure of a candle pre-entry. Yeah, don't hesitate to ask me any questions though, chat. That's what I'm here for. I love me some good questions. Nice trace into this imbalance here. We see that we actually just formed a nice trace into this fair value gap here. We tapped into it very briefly, but now we're potentially going to frame a 1 minute continuation sequence since this is the new 15-minute here, this 5:15. Yeah, that would frame a continuation sequence. Okay, one question. When higher time frame candle both sides sweep, then which sweep is valid? If both sides sweep on a higher time frame candle, most of the time you can assume there's going to be accumulation. It's rare you see both sides sweep. For me, that becomes a no trade condition then. If both sides sweep, that's a no trade day for me, or I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait until it expands to one side. Then I'm going to trade the continuation of that side. To be so honest with you, KT. But I won't frame anything else until that happens. Nice movement here, man. All right, we framed a continuation sequence. Looks like we're making our way into this draw. Be curious to see if this hits. Very curious. See if it hits. Does that make sense though, KT? Liking what I'm seeing. Give me some movement. Alrighty, looks like we're getting that expansion. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna sweep out. We're definitely gonna sweep out this 24,672. That is making its way into this draw. We just framed a continuation sequence as well. So for those of you that wanted to trade that here, stop at the internal protected high. Target, I mean, this is less than 1R. I would target a 1.5R. But we see ES is showcasing really nice bearish strength here as well. So it's looking like we're going to continue that draw very well, actually. New candle, that's definitely going to sweep out this draw in about like 30 seconds, most likely. Aggression in markets right now. Did you say play stop loss at top of OB? You can do, typically you do the wick for continuation entries of the OB. Michael. Alrighty, and wait for the sweep out. There we go. Swept out. Bang, bang. There we go. As anticipated. See if 1.5R plays out now. Yeah, easy read here on markets. Super, super easy read here on markets. Now our next draw, if we just zoom out a little more on the bigger picture, what exactly do we see, guys? Next primary draw at these lows. Next primary draw, which we're just heading right for. Market is just going right to that draw. There goes a nice sweep out there. Beautiful sweep out. And there we go. It's such an easy read on markets. Oh, gosh. Thanks, Michael. I was about to ask the same question. There we go. Yeah, NQ, yes, is easier because before 9:30, no entry, but in gold, it's difficult because gold moves anytime. Correct. I could explain it. I've explained it a lot of times. Check out my other YouTube videos, Life Hacks. I go through my model entirely through other videos. I'd just honestly highly recommend checking that out if I was you. Would help you out a ton, boss man. And 1.5 hours, you're going to play out on these continuations. Bang. Wow. Easy read here. Easy read. And 1.5 hour tagged. Boom. Continuation hit. Live on stream. One singular micro for fun on that. One singular micro on that. Hey, we'll take it, chat. No complaints. Do you trade metals in Asia session? I do. I fucking love metals in Asia session. They're super solid. Is it the same trades as T-Trades Fractal? This uses the same framework, correct? Silver's getting weak here. Ooh, also, SMT inside of a gap fill, man. SMT inside of a gap fill again, man. PM session is too clean. Look. SMT in a gap fill on the 15-minute. Peep this, chat. Oh my gosh. Confirm the SMT. 1 minute. Confirm the SMT in the gap fill. Dude, it's so clean, man. It's so clean. Markets are so fresh, dude. They're so freaking fresh, man. Jeepers nuts, man. Confirm the SMT. Short signature off the move, man. Short signature off the move. Look at this. Confirm the SMT divergence with this change in state of delivery here. Confirm a short signature. Grab the short signature on the low. Stop at the high. Target a 1.5R or this most relevant draw. Already tagged out. Dude, how to... I like to trade continuation because it's high probability trade. Absolutely. Wow. Great markets. And I just swept out that primary draw. Boom. Dude, what a beautiful market today. What a beautiful market. All right, chat. Honestly, I don't have too much else for you guys for today. Kind of just wanted to break down some trades with you and go through lives, but I'm kind of off the charts here. Markets, solid shorts and PM session, but I think I'm going to call it here. We'll probably do some more YouTube lives in the future. But yeah, I'm going to call it off here. If you guys haven't already, like the stream. And if not, That's all good too. It's your life. You can like it. You can also dislike it. Whichever you want. Works like a charm. So don't hesitate to like the stream if you guys do enjoy these style streams. And other than that, guess I'll just catch you all in the next stream, to be so frank. All right, everybody. I'll catch you all very soon. Ciao, ciao, everybody.